welcome to another episode of Indie Quickie Review. And in today's episode we are looking at the Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe package released for the Nintendo Switch, so let's jump right in. Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe includes both games in one epic package. For those of you who don't know, the Angry Video Game Nerd is a character played by James Rolfe on the YouTube channel Cinemassacre, and he is one of the most well-known gaming YouTubers, especially in the retro gaming scene. In each AVGN episode, he goes over a shitty game as his nerd character, and the videos are hilarious and full of cursing, toilet humor, and insanity, and they are very entertaining. Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures 1 was initially released in 2013, and Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures 2 Assimilation was released in 2016, and they are both 2D action platformers that look, play, feel, and sound like an old school NES game. And as of October 30th, 2020, you can buy them both together in one package on the Nintendo Switch for $15. Both games feature similar stories. In the first game, the nerd is sucked into Game Land and he must escape, and in the second game, the entire world has been turned into a video game and the nerd must save the day. Both games feature characters from AVGN and Cinemassacre, as well as that classic AVGN humor, as you will see a ton of cursing, toilet humor, and hilarious nerd one-liners as you play through both adventures. Both games are absolutely packed full of video game and movie references, from the levels to the enemies and bosses, as well as the dialogue. Retro gamers, movie lovers, or simply fans of AVGN are all in for a treat with both games. The pixel art graphical style in both games are top-notch, with a ton of variety in levels, assets, backgrounds, and enemies, with varied color palettes to keep things fresh throughout, and both games really capture that classic NES retro graphical style, but with some modern flair thrown in. The sound design is retro and incredible as well, and holy hell, the music. The music in both AVGN games is just absolutely incredible, with a ton of variety from level to level, and I often had tracks from various levels stuck in my head. Here, have a listen. At its core, the gameplay in both games involves you running through each level as the nerd, platforming, avoiding traps, finding secrets, and killing enemies and bosses with your gun, which by the way is an NES zapper, and various sub-weapons. But beyond that, each game has its differences. Before we continue, it's worth mentioning that in this package, the first game has been rebuilt from the ground up using the engine from the second game. The first game features 8 levels that you can tackle in any order, each ending in a boss fight, and then a final level once you beat those, for a total of 9 levels. Each level is relatively long, taking anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to beat each one depending on your skill level and difficulty you are playing on. The first 8 levels feature 4 letters to find throughout the levels spelling nerd, and there are 8 shit pickles to find. That's right, shit pickles. And some levels feature hidden unlockable characters that you can switch to on the fly, each with their own abilities. For example, Couch Guy moves very fast and can shoot through walls, and BS Man can double jump. But most of the time you'll be sticking with the nerd. The core gameplay in the second game is the same with some changes. In the second game there is a world map featuring 5 areas you can tackle in any order. Each area has 3 levels with a mid-boss, then one final level which is the boss fight for the area. Once you beat each area, you unlock a final area with 1 level and the final boss fight. Just like in the first game, there are 4 nerd letters to find in each level, and this time instead of secret characters there are upgrades to find for the nerd, such as the Uber Scope, which makes your gun stronger, and the Cape, which allows you to float for a short time. Each area has its own unique theme, such as a board game, a sewer, and a graveyard. The level design in both games is absolutely top notch and blew me away at every turn. There's a ton of gameplay variety throughout the levels in both traps, enemies, bosses, and mechanics, to the point to where every level felt unique and they were all a blast to play. Now between the two games, I definitely think Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures 2 Assimilation is the better game. It's the more polished game with better level design, more variety, more levels. It's just bigger and better in every way. But that's not to say the first game isn't good, because the first game is fantastic as well. Both games are pretty damn hard as well, but the good thing is that with multiple difficulty settings, you can make them as easy or as hard as you want to. When you beat both games, you unlock the final chapter, which features 3 more insanely difficult levels and 1 boss fight. So between both games, the final chapter, the secrets, and the multiple difficulties, there's a ton of content to dig through and have fun with. I had an absolute blast playing through both games, and I could see myself coming back to replay them from time to time, just like some of the timeless classics I love from the NES era. I honestly don't have anything negative to say about either game other than I wish they were both longer. I wish that I had more to play. To sum up, both Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures 1 and 2 are fantastic games packed full of gaming and movie references, classic AVGN humor, retro style graphics and gameplay, and that classic NES hard difficulty is there too if you want it. And for the price of $15 on the Switch eShop, this is an awesome package that I feel is totally worth the money. So there you have it, folks. That's my Indie Quickie review on Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures 1 and 2 Deluxe. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button. If you've played these games before, let me know what you think about them in the comments down below. As always, folks, if you're new here, consider subscribing so that you can join the RetroWolf family. Stay safe out there, keep playing games and having a good time, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later.